Hey everybody, it's Justice for Comics. Hope everyone's having a great Friday. It is time to review the CBSI, the comicbookinvest.com's Hot 10 list for the week. There's some interesting books on there this week. So let's dig into it. Let's take a look and review it, and I'll give you my take on these books, and you guys can leave comments. Let me know what you think. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit here. There we go. All right. So we'll start off, as always, with the honorable mentions, and of course, they like to highlight an older book. Vault of Horror number 35. A lot of EC fans out there. That was one thing, like probably 10 years ago, 10, maybe 15 years ago, you probably could have bought a big collection of EC books in fairly high grade, at least mid to high grade, and for not too expensive. The prices in the last 3 to 4 years have really accelerated on all of these horror books from the 50s and 60s especially. Vault of Horror, you've got a Johnny Craig cover. It's kind of a cool looking cover. It says the classic Christmas cover just continues to go up and up. A 5.5 sold for an all-time high of $1,750, which is approaching the 9.4 sale just 7 years ago. I really hope she gets what she asked for before being decapitated. Yeah, that is a interesting cover. So let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. She's opening looks like a trunk with a ribbon on it, and somebody's about to take a swing with an axe. So yes, I'm sure back in the 50s and 60s that cover would have definitely been a little shocking to see on the at your local grocery store. The next one is Jim and the Holograms number 7. This is the Jen Bartel variant. Jen Bartel is always really good at coloring. The colors are always dynamic and amazing. I don't think her art style is any better than other artists. I just think that's what she's known for, is basically using bright, dynamic, standout coloring. So yeah, just a cool looking cover. $60. Ben says, laugh all you want about these types of books, but they do sell and are hard to find. Hard to find Bartel covers do as well, and this one fits in that category. Do you notice that this is the third Kelly Thompson book on the list? All right, very good. Noted. So that's not a comic book I would ever collect, but there's people out there that, especially from the 1980s, or was that a 1980s cartoon? I do kind of remember the annoying song that cartoon had, if I remember right, but they were all a little annoying back then. All right, number 10 is Champions, number 22. I think this is the first appearance. Oh, it says the first meetup of Amadeus Cho and Ironheart. Is that the only reason that book's on this list? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of meetups. First meetup, I don't know, it just doesn't really do much for me. I'd rather put the money towards first appearance. So I'd rather have that $40 to $50 that this book is going for right now. I'd rather put that towards the first appearance of Amadeus Cho or the first appearance of Ironheart. Ironheart definitely has been on fire lately. Last week's top 10, the number one book was in Ironheart, controversial first appearance. It's probably more like a second appearance. Iron Man, what was it? Invincible Iron Man number 9 was the number one book last week. So all things Ironheart tend to be pretty strong these days, pretty strong candidates. Number 9 is Iron Man number 12, the Raza variant. Yeah, cool looking cover. I did grab 5 of these bad boys from Forbidden Planet. Hopefully I will get them. I did get an email the other day saying that they were temporarily out of stock. They didn't cancel my order though. So it does sound as though they will get those books sent to them. But the problem is I sold 3 of them already to somebody, a couple people on eBay, which of course I emailed them right away saying, hey, these books are coming from out of state or out of the United States, so it could take a little bit of time before I can send them to you. Yeah, most people are pretty cool. I mean, you might get that person here and there that wants to cancel their order because they don't want to wait. Yeah, it just depends on whether you're looking to flip the book. It sounds like the people that bought these books from me, they're not really looking to flip it. Otherwise, I think they would have already complained. So whether it takes a week or two longer to get it, the value of this book is obviously going to change a lot. I sold 3 copies for $27 a piece. There was some sales over $30, and now it looks like it's settled back down around 15 to 20. So it's still a cool looking book. It's an homage to Bruce Lee. I think there's a old black and white photo of Bruce Lee at a turntable. I don't know. I have that T-shirt. I have a Bruce Lee T-shirt with him at a turntable with like gold chains around his neck or something. Little hip hop Bruce Lee. But so that's kind of what it's an homage to. And yeah, it's a cool looking cover. Raza does a really good job. So I can see why that's a hot book. I don't know why I didn't pre-order that. I have to think that maybe the image wasn't available. Because if I had seen that when I did my pre-orders months ago, I definitely would have ordered at least 1 copy. So the fact that I didn't means I probably didn't know what the cover looked like. So sometimes if you really dig an artist, maybe even if you don't know what the cover is, sometimes it's not a bad idea to just pre-order it, figuring that there's a good chance it's still going to be a good cover. All right, the next one on the list, number 8, is another Kelly Thompson book, Hawkeye #1. I do have this book in my collection. Yeah, I mean, this series didn't do anything for a longest time, but because of the new trailer that just dropped for Hawkeye, this character, Kate Bishop, seems to be a pretty hot Marvel character. She's not just a good shot, but I guess she has some intelligence way above Hawkeye, so she technically could be a much better version of Hawkeye. So they might do a lot more with her character. Plus, Jamie Renner, the actor that plays Hawkeye, he probably wants to move on from that role, I would imagine. I'm sure he's not complaining. I'm sure he's being paid well, but that's actors they don't want to be stuck and typecast into a certain role, so he's probably ready to move on from the role. So Kate Bishop, not her first appearance, of course. This is her first solo title, which there's people that will chase these books. Looks like it's a $40 book right now. And that is a Tedesco cover, I guess. All right. Not a bad cover. I like yellow covers. It kind of stands out because of the yellow. I like that. All right, number 7 is West Coast Avengers #7. What is this? First appearance of Jeff the Land Shark? I have no idea who that is. It says he has his own series now on the Marvel Unlimited app. Prices of his first appearance here have moved up from $15 to $20 to $35 to $40. Does he have any staying power? ? Probably not. But if this is a book you have in your collection, pull it out, dust it off. Might be a good time to sell it if you're not in love with it, or if you don't have a lot of faith in the value of that character long term. This would probably be a good time to sell that book. Number 6 is Iron Fist #14, first appearance of Sabretooth, classic book. I used to own this in a graded 9.8 white pages, believe it or not. I sold it. At the time, I had the highest recorded sale. I sold this book when the first Wolverine movie came out. That was a while ago. Yeah, that had to be more than 10 years ago. I sold it for $3,200, believe it or not, on Comic Link. So I didn't sell it on eBay. I sold it over Comic Link. I just posted a crazy price. I think at the time, this book was selling around $2,000 in 9.8. And the copy that I had there is also a price variant. I didn't have the price variant one. I can only imagine what that would probably go for in a 9.8 at this point. But I did sell it for $3,200. Obviously, it looks like the price has caught back up because after I sold it, the price dropped all the way down to about $1,800. I noticed, I kind of followed the book a little bit, months and months later after I sold it. And even a year and a half later, it was still around that 1,800 to 2,000 range. So I felt very, very good for selling it at $3,200. I timed that one really, really well. But a 9.6 just sold for $2,500 and a 4.0 for $375. So yeah, there's always going to be demand for this book. It's a cool looking cover. It's a late 70s book. So every year that goes by, these are harder and harder to find in the high grade. High grade raws are almost impossible anymore. Pretty much everybody's graded these books. It's really rare to find a high grade raw copy. But it's just one of those marquee characters. I think that book's going to continue to rise in value. Number 5 is Ultimate Fantastic Four, number 22. First appearance of the Marvel Zombies. A couple of years ago, I did buy several copies of this book, 22 and 23. I think 23 might be their first cover appearance. I'll have to pull those books out. I know I have them in a box somewhere, but yeah, classic Mark Millar. It was a really good read. This was when Greg Land was really popular back then. I remember he was kind of a coveted artist at that time. He's not so much anymore, but back then he was one of those hot artists until I think everyone figured out he was tracing a lot of stuff, which I know a lot of artists do that. But this is now a $60 to $70 book. It looks like they're revamping, running another storyline of the zombies. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a movie out of it one day. So this is probably a good one to hold on to for the long term. I don't think it's a good flip opportunity. But you could find that book in a back issue bin at a comic book shop. It's one of those books that it gets overlooked. So if you're at a comic book shop that has a lot of long boxes and they've got a lot of stuff, especially a lot of those Ultimate comic book, that Ultimate series is, Ultimate Fantastic Four, Ultimate X-Men, a lot of those books didn't sell really well. They were pretty heavily printed. So there could be a chance you could find that fairly easily in a back issue bin. So keep your eyes open for that one. Number 4 on the list is a personal favorite of mine, Venom number 3, the first appearance of Null. Null is definitely one of those A-list villains. I put him right up there with Thanos and Doctor Doom in the Marvel Universe. There's probably maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 A-list villains. Null, in my opinion, is one of those A-list villains. And, I don't think people love the way that the story ended here recently, where it looked like Null passed, that he died or whatever. Obviously he didn't. Kate's admitted to it later that no, he's a great villain like him is never going to die. So he's off to some corner of the universe recuperating from his wounds. But yeah, Venom number 3, definitely an important marquee book. Over time, I would imagine this book's going to continue to climb. And 9.8s are selling around $400 again, which I guess it dipped down to around, I think I saw a couple sales in the $275 range, maybe a little lower. So anyone that picked up a 9.8 below $275, you've done well. It's back above $400 again. I have 10 copies of this book. None of them are graded. I've got some of the variants. I got 2 copies of the one in 25, which are pretty rare. So yeah, that's one of my better decisions in my comic book collecting career. Was I went very heavy on Venom number 3. A lot of the shops I went to had a bunch of copies. I mean, I have 10. I could easily have 50 copies of this book if I wanted. There was more than enough available for the first couple weeks that this book was out. So it wasn't a hard book to get when it came out. I guess I should have bought 50 copies. I mean, how many of those would be graded a 9.8? It's probably a tough cover to get a 9.8 in because it's white. All my copies look perfect. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you got out a magnifying glass, maybe you could find some flaws. But my copies, I really didn't read any of them. I put them in my lights and stuck them in a box. So mine have never been really handled. I literally grabbed them off the shelf and put them in my lights and stuck them in a box. So I would hope that most of mine would get 9.6 to 9.8 range, but I just I'm holding on to him. I think we'll see him in a movie at some point, and when that happens, this $400 book right now will be easily over $1,000. So if you still think the price is too high for a Venom number 3 at $400, I don't even think it's close to the height yet. So I would, if you don't own this in your collection, I would try to make plans to acquire that book at some point. Number 3 is Red Room number 4. This is the 1 in 10 Spawn homage cover. I looked at this book. I could have grabbed one off of Midtown. I don't know. It's a little too on the nose, I guess. But what do I know? It's selling for $40 to $50. Everyone loves Spawn cover. That Spawn number 1. It's a very recognizable cover, and it's been homaged quite a bit over the years. So this isn't the first book to do that. But yeah, congratulations to anyone that was able to grab that, especially near that 1 in 10 ratio price. Number 2 is Grendel. Number 1, this is I guess, not the first appearance of Grendel. That would be Primer number 2, which is a fairly expensive book. One of the YouTubers has this book. I've seen, what's his name? Skinny older fella. He's a little older than me, I think. And he's got a lot of EC books in his collection. I want to get his name right because he's a nice guy. I've watched his videos over the years. Wouldn't mind doing I don't think he's ever done a live stream with anybody though, so I probably won't ask him. What's his name? He's got that Riddler. He's a big Riddler fan. God. Comic. Damn, it'll come to me by the end of this taping probably. Number 1 is Tales of Suspense, number 57. I think that's the first appearance of Black Widow, if I'm not mistaken. 9.2 just sold for $11,400. A 9.4 just sold for $17,000. Wow, a lot of money. 3.0 for $750. Ben says this was probably a way undervalued key for a while, but not anymore. Yeah, I would agree with that. This book was always pretty expensive, though. I mean, any copies I looked at mid-grade were always in the thousands. I never really thought about getting low grade on this. I guess I probably could have afforded that, but oh well. I probably could have got like a 5.0 for around $1,000 a year and a half ago when I was looking at this book. But of course, I had designs. Oh yeah, I want to get a 9.0 or an 8.5. I wanted a pretty high grade book, which, yeah, that's a pretty expensive book now. I should have bought one. Oh well. Anything you bought a year, 2 years ago has done extremely well, especially if it's a key. So that's your list, guys. I thought of that YouTuber's name who owns that Primer number 2. Reaper, I think is called Reaper Tate. 728, I think his name is, Reaper Tate. Nice guy. He's got a nice channel. Check him out sometime. I think he does a good job. All right, guys. That bell sound was my DiGiorno pizza is now ready to be grabbed out of the oven. So I'm going to grab some grub, and I'll see you guys soon.